Max Verstappen has made some bold statements about his future in Formula One, and it's certainly stirring the pot. He's publicly declared that he will keep pushing the limits of racing in F1, even if it means crossing the line. According to Verstappen, those who don't understand this mentality don't have the mindset of a world champion. He's not holding back, warning everyone that they should watch out for him in 2025, as he's still in a relentless pursuit of success. But this isn't the only bombshell he dropped. His team also took aim at the UK media once again. After a strong start to 2024, Verstappen and Red Bull encountered fierce competition from McLaren and Ferrari, with Lando Norris challenging him for the title. As the season progressed, we saw multiple on-track incidents, particularly in Austria, Austin, and Mexico. Verstappen even earned two 10-second penalties in Mexico City for forcing Norris off the track, which sparked a lot of backlash from McLaren fans and the media. This heated the debate about F1's racing rules. Despite the criticism, when asked about his 2024 season, Verstappen made it clear that he had no regrets. He believes that sometimes, in Formula One, you have to push boundaries to get the best results. In a season-ending interview, he was reminded of comments made by McLaren CEO Zak Brown in Mexico, who said Verstappen is an awesome racing driver but questioned his driving style, suggesting he didn't need to race that aggressively. Verstappen's response was straightforward: they don't have the world champion mentality. He emphasized that he will always go to the edge to extract everything from each race, and if that means crossing the line, then so be it. Verstappen made it clear that when you're aiming for a championship, you have to take risks and push yourself to the limit, and not everyone understands that. When asked if he regretted his move in Mexico, where he forced Norris toward the wall, Verstappen's reply was simple: no, not at all. Verstappen didn't stop there. He also pointed to McLaren's approach during the season, particularly their handling of team instructions. He believes McLaren's strategy and the way they handled certain situations, like their internal driver battles, showed a lack of experience when it comes to competing for a championship. According to Verstappen, if McLaren had been more decisive and efficient with their strategies, Norris might have been able to challenge him more effectively for the title. Verstappen acknowledged that McLaren had a competitive car, but he also pointed out that they still had a lot to learn about consistent championship competition. While McLaren did well in the Constructors' Championship, Verstappen felt they could have done a better job preparing for the Drivers' Championship. He also criticized McLaren's in-house terminology, such as the papaya rules, a term used to describe fair racing between teammates. For Verstappen, the papaya rules which McLaren introduced as a way to manage racing between teammates were nothing but nonsense. He was clear about his feelings if he ever heard that term on the radio during a race, especially if the championship was on the line. He'd tell his engineer to shut up immediately. Verstappen believes that when it comes to racing, drivers know what to do. They don't need any extra labels or confusing instructions. He felt McLaren could have handled their internal driver battles much more straightforwardly without creating unnecessary complications. The term papaya rules gained attention after McLaren's drivers, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, locked out the front row at the Italian Grand Prix. When Piastri passed Norris for the lead, the team allowed the two to race again, but under the so-called papaya rules. McLaren team principal Andrea Stella later explained that the term referred to a philosophy where teammates race cleanly but prioritize the overall team's success. However, Verstappen didn't see any value in this approach and felt it added unnecessary complexity. Verstappen didn't mince words when he called out McLaren's strategy. Specifically regarding the papaya rules, he made it clear that he finds the whole concept meaningless. For him, racing is simple: you race to win, and that's it. The idea of adding extra layers to how teammates should race each other just seemed unnecessary and counterproductive. If he were in McLaren's shoes, he believes they could have solved the issue more effectively without creating such a fuss. Verstappen's straightforwardness in these matters has earned him both praise and criticism, especially from the British media, who have often been less than kind in their portrayal of his aggressive driving style. But Verstappen and Red Bull aren't concerned about the media's opinions. In fact, they've grown used to the backlash. Dr. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's advisor, had one final message for the critics in an editorial for Speed Week. Marko didn't hold back, questioning the British media's driver ratings and their relevance to the quality of the championship. He pointed to what he believes is a clear bias against Verstappen, with much of the British press favoring new challengers, like Lando Norris, over the reigning champion. Dr. Marko didn't hold back when he made his case. He believes that British media outlets have an inherent bias against Verstappen, particularly when it comes to comparing him to newcomers like Norris. Marco argued that the British press tends to show more sympathy toward emerging stars, while the established champion often gets a rougher treatment, especially when that champion is Verstappen. This isn't new, it's a pattern Marco has seen play out time and time again. But Verstappen isn't bothered by the criticism. He's always been vocal about his opinions, and he's not afraid to show his emotions. Marco praised Verstappen for his growth over the year, noting that he has become more mentally mature and focused. He highlighted Verstappen's performance in the Brazilian Grand Prix X, which he referred to as a World Cup race due to the immense pressure Verstappen was under. Marco was especially impressed by Verstappen's ability to handle the conditions, which were similar to those in 2016 when Verstappen had made a few mistakes. This time, however, Verstappen didn't put a foot wrong, and Marco saw this as a clear indication of his mental strength and ability to perform under pressure. Marco went on to praise Verstappen's performance during the Brazilian Grand Prix X, particularly his dominance in the rain, which he compared to a World Cup final. Verstappen's consistency and ability to deliver when it mattered most were evident as he outperformed everyone on the track, completing 17 fastest laps in the process. According to Marco, this was more than just a victory, it was a psychological blow to the competition, showing that Verstappen is not only a skilled driver but also a mentally tough competitor who can withstand immense pressure. It was a race that proved why Verstappen is considered one of the best in Formula One today. For Marco and Red Bull, the priority is clear: they are focused solely on winning championships, not on pleasing the media or chasing popularity. Marco made it clear that the team isn't concerned with how Verstappen is rated by journalists or how the public perceives him. What matters most to them is the performance on the track and the championship points. Marco's message was clear: Verstappen's dominance in 2024 solidified his place as the best driver, and no one else could challenge him for that title. Marco also shared his thoughts on how Verstappen has evolved as a driver. He praised him for maturing mentally throughout the season, becoming more focused and strategic in his approach. Marco pointed out that Verstappen is now better at picking his battles, especially when it comes to decisions on the track that could impact the championship. If anyone had told him at the start of the season that Verstappen would let Lewis Hamilton and the two Ferraris pass him in certain races for the sake of the championship, it would have seemed unimaginable. But that's exactly what Verstappen did, because he understands what's truly important: securing the title. This level of maturity was especially evident in Brazil, where Verstappen showed exceptional control and precision in difficult conditions. Marco called it a mental masterclass, showcasing Verstappen's strength under pressure. It was a display of pure domination, leaving no doubt about Verstappen's ability to perform at the highest level when it matters most. Marco believes that Verstappen's performance in the Brazilian Grand Prix solidified his reputation as one of the best drivers in the sport, proving once again that he is in a league of his own. While Marco and Red Bull are focused on their own success, they remain aware of the challenges ahead, especially in 2025. Marco acknowledged that the competition in Formula One will continue to get tougher, particularly as teams like McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes continue to improve. He's certain that the fight for the championship next year will be much closer, especially if the regulations stay the same. Marco explained that in the final year of a regulation period, the field tends to tighten up, with teams copying successful concepts and becoming more competitive as a result. Red Bull is already preparing for this challenge. Marco revealed that the team is focusing on finding the right balance in their car rather than just adding more downforce. While downforce is important, it's the overall balance of the car that makes the biggest difference in performance. Marco believes that the key to Red Bull's continued success will be the ability to fine-tune their car so that it remains stable and predictable, even with slight temperature changes or small technical adjustments. This, he believes, is what will allow the team to stay ahead of the competition in 2025. Marco emphasized that Red Bull's goal for 2025 is not just to improve the car but to make it more adaptable, ensuring it performs at its best no matter the conditions. The team is working on a wider operating window for their car, meaning it should remain balanced even when facing minor changes such as shifts in track temperature or small mechanical adjustments. While additional downforce is always an option, Marco made it clear that the priority is improving the overall handling of the car. This is what will give Verstappen the confidence he needs to continue dominating on the track. As for the team's future, Marco is confident that Red Bull will be ready for whatever comes in 2025. They've learned from this season, and are making the necessary adjustments to ensure they are in the best possible position to fight for both championships once again. While there may be some changes in the team, Red Bull remains firmly committed to giving Verstappen a car that will enable him to challenge for the World Championship once again. The real question is, can they continue their dominance? Will Verstappen once again prove that he's the best? And could he possibly secure both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships in 2025? What do you think? And what about the ongoing debate over his aggressive driving style? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.